to also learn and understand is, what do B2 buyers really think about sellers? What do they think about us as a profession? And some of the stats I'm going to share with you are going to be shocking, and they're going to join. And they're taken from the latest LinkedIn survey, but they're also taken from other surveys that have been conducted in the past. So the first one is that, unfortunately, buyers, a quarter of buyers describe our sales profession as morally and ethically challenged. That is a huge amount. It means that when they speak with a seller, they believe that a quarter of them lack morals and ethics. And that's a big problem. What's even worse is that buyers believe that less than half of us are not trustworthy. That means the odds are just completely against you, right? When they speak to you, they already have these preconceptions in their mind, and they are not testing or being neutral. There's a lot of old sales training out there that I've attended before that says that buyers are neutral. Not the case anymore, okay? They are actually swayed more against us, right? They're not in our favor. So we have an uphill battle to prove ourselves worthy of that, not just that buyer's attention, but that buyer's time, trust, and their money, and also the risks that are associated with that, which I will explain later on. Another thing that really buyers must understand is this: buyers hate buying. I'm going to repeat that because this is really, really important. B2B buyers hate buying. They hate the process. Okay, it's incredibly stressful for them, right? It takes up a lot of extra time, right? This is outside of their day job. No one is hired to be a professional buyer, right? You're hired to fulfill a role for the company. Buying is an external or an extra part of that process. They hate it also because the decisions that they make carries a lot of risk. Particularly the more senior you are, the more risk is associated. But actually, if you think about it, for anyone, if you are going to stand up for a particular seller and their solution, that carries with it risk. If you're wrong, you lose your reputation. In fact, if you're wrong, you may even lose your job, which is a very big deal. And I think sometimes sellers don't really appreciate that situation. There's a huge amount of risk that buyers face. They don't want to stand up for a seller at the risk of looking bad or losing their job, particularly if that decision goes south. And in fact, most buyers will just not make a decision. And we are often frustrated as to why that's the case. Well, now you kind of know. They would rather not make a decision and stick their neck out than actually stick their neck out. There's only a very few types of individuals that have the specific characteristics where they would thrive on taking those types of risks. But again, the odds are against you. They also hate buying because they have to deal with internal stakeholders that they really try to avoid. And it's not just about their peers or cross-functional peers like marketing or IT or whatever it might be. It's also people like procurement, legal. Sometimes their processes are so laborious that actually it becomes frustrating and they don't want to go through that, let alone you as the seller. So they try to avoid having to engage with those processes because they're very time draining, they're very stressful, and they can be very frustrating for the buyer as well. And then finally, the internal lobbying that they have to go through. Again, that takes up a lot of time. Some buyers just don't have the kind of characteristics and the communication skills to be able to lobby effectively. And really, it's outside of their comfort zone, so they'll rather not do so. So remember that buyers hate buying. So now that we know those things, what are some of the top 3 critical factors that buyers need to see in order to actually engage with the seller and give them their time? Well, number 1 is, no surprise, trust and honesty. I've just given you the stats where a quarter of them believe that our sales profession is ethically and morally challenged, and less than half of the salespeople that they engage with, they feel are not trustworthy. So trust and honesty is a very, very critical factor for buyers. The quicker you can establish that trust and help them see that they can trust you, the much better that engagement is going to be for the both of you. The other critical factor is buyers need to understand clearly what the business needs are for them. and they need your help to be able to do that. If you're just going to give them cursory information and expect them to do all that work, guess what? They're not going to like working with you. In fact, they're going to choose a seller that is able to do that. So you've got to be able to help them clearly understand, not see, understand the business needs that you offer them. And the final thing is they need to see that you understand their role in decision-making process. Right? This is again, you don't want to assume that just because you're talking to a C-level executive that he or she has the ultimate decision or the biggest decision and power in order to do so. That may not be the case. They may be someone that empowers their team to actually be involved in those decisions and to assess those suppliers. So don't make the assumption, and in fact, they want to see that you are trying to understand their role and to help them navigate those internal hurdles that I described earlier. So now that we know what the critical factors are that buyers want to see from sellers, what are the top traits that the buyers value over and above what I just described? Well, first one is active listening. And this is according to research done by LinkedIn. However, what my research finds is active listening is more of a sales terminology. What buyers want to know is they want sellers to seek to understand them. They want to feel understood, not to understand you and your solution. They couldn't care less about your solution, right? I'm sorry to share this. This may be jarring for you to hear as sales individuals. The buyers really just could not care less. What they care about is themselves. And if your solution happens to help them elevate what they desire, great, because now you're helping them in what they care about most, which is themselves. So sellers who seek to understand, and active listening is one way to do so. Another way is probably doing your research about the company and about the individual, showing that you care, showing that you seek to understand. But sellers that seek to understand is a trait that buyers highly value. The second one is not surprising. However, the method is still being underutilized by sellers, and that's solving problems. This is not about solving challenges, it's about solving problems. And more importantly, the sellers that help buyers solve unforeseen problems that they were not aware of. This is something in the Challenger sales book. Those sellers that are able to do that are quickly able to become trusted partners and advisors to those buyers. Because any buyer is able to see problems. If they're able to see the problems and you're just going to offer a solution to a problem that they already are aware of, chances are, given the nature of the buying process now, that buyers probably already have a preconceived solution to those problems. And if they have a strong opinion about what those solutions are going to be, guess what? You're only offering that, you're suddenly in the commoditized territory, which means you're going to be under price pressures because they're now comparing you with others. But if you are able to show them a problem that either they were unaware of or did not foresee, or show them a problem of a solution that they'd already decided on, but you're showing them a problem that arises from using such a method or an approach, they're going to trust you far more. In fact, they're going to be willing to pay more for your solution because now you're a business partner. And then the final trait, which is absolutely critical in the recession period, is confidence. No one wants to work with someone who is not confident. You're never going to work with a business partner, particularly if you invest a lot of your time and effort and money and the risks of your reputation and your career with someone who's not confident, right? So you as a seller need to be really confident as a character, as an individual. You also must be incredibly confident in your solution. And you'll be surprised how many salespeople are not confident in the solution that they're offering. They don't believe in the solution that they're offering, and they just don't see why a buyer would want to buy. And that is absolutely a detriment to you right now in the recession. So you've got to get confident, so much so that you've got to exude that confidence and make the buyer feel confident about the decision of working with you as well. Because if they're not confident, they're not going to champion you internally amongst their stakeholders and lobby for you with passion. So now that I've talked about all of those things, are you doing what the top 10% are doing? That's an important question to ask, because are you really doing what they are doing? In fact, When I ask our clients this question, the first thing that they ask me is, well, we don't even know what the top 10% are doing. That's a big problem. But don't worry, we're going to help you. We're going to help you with that. We're going to show you what that's going to be. But even if you know what the top 10% are doing, do you know how strong you are in those skills? Are you able to assess them in a way that's reliable? Because most people just use intuition here, or they think that they are. And sometimes there's a lot of ego involved, but actually you're kind of fooling yourself. So do you know critically what those skills are, right? What their strengths are? And if you do, and you've identified where you're strong and where you're not so strong, do you have a robust plan to help you improve those skills? Because if you don't have a plan to prioritize and improve those skills, then guess what? You're going to find yourself at the end of a recession pretty much the same way you started, but everyone else has moved ahead. So think about what those skills are. What is it the 10% are doing? How can you assess that, and how can you improve the areas that you need to? And we're going to show you that right now. So are you ready for the money slide? So here's the money slide here.